Good day, I'm James Barnett, and today I'll be presenting the Centralized and Consolidated Aircraft Maintenance Support Section project. We're going to be covering the introduction, project proposal and benefits, show you some visuals of the moves, go over the timeline, the resources, our budget and cost, the work breakdown schedule, a couple of Gantt charts, and then the risk assessment matrix, and then we can cover any questions at the end. This project is a small internal project. We're doing it with folks that we already have employed here at the wing. They are not going to be solely dedicated to the project. They'll be the points of contact for their respective work centers. However, we do have daily flying operations we'll still need to support. In between the flying operations is when these folks can be dedicated to the project. Support sections are controlled areas within a maintenance group or a maintenance complex where maintenance tools and aircraft support equipment are located. Support sections are a place where each tool has a space and a place. Every piece of equipment has a space and a place. Everything is accounted for. Accountability in an aircraft maintenance complex is paramount to safety. A lost tool can shut down your operations at any given time. Right now, the 171st operates two separate support sections, one for AMXS, Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, and one for MXS, the Maintenance Squadron. And I'll explain a little more in detail about that in future slides. To gain efficiency between our two aircraft maintenance squadrons, it's imperative that we centralize and consolidate their two support sections into one. Currently, the two squadrons operate separate support sections, flight line and inspection dock, located at the ends of their respective hangars, approximately 300 feet apart. However, it's a common practice for technicians to check out tools and equipment from both support sections, depending on the type and location of work being accomplished. Overall, this adds unnecessary time to perform maintenance tasks and account for tools at the end of each shift. By combining sections and moving into a centralized location, we can reduce the number of personnel managing the section by 2 people, placing these personnel back into the day-to-day flight operations, which further enhances an already constrained resource. In addition, the newly located support section will be placed in an already existing space in the middle of hangars 301 and 302. This space is currently occupied by the propulsion shop, which will trade with the hangar 302 support section. Moving to the middle of the two hangars means less steps traveled by the flight line and the backshop personnel to gather tools. Furthermore, we can reduce the number of redundant tools and equipment on hand, saving sustainment costs in the long run. All right, to give some visuals here, these pictures are not all inclusive of the spaces involved or the amount of space involved. Just paint a little bit of a picture of where things are going to go in the interim. The center picture is the hangar. Right now it's empty. That's going to be the staging area for all 3 work centers to move their equipment and tools into until such time that each of the other 3 places get totally cleaned out and all the signage removed and new stickers and signage installed. Top left picture is where the propulsion shop is currently located in the middle of hangar 301. That's where the new support section will go, or the new combined support section will go. The picture on the lower left is the AMXS support section in hangar 302, with the top right being the ISO support section in hangar 301. So we were able to give this project timeline 45 calendar days or 35 work days. The reason appears that we're taking so long is, again, we are still supporting our daily flying operations. Also, we have the hangar space available for that amount of time until our next large inspection comes in for maintenance. We're going to work from 15 September to 30 October. Standard work schedule is Monday through Friday, single shift operation. In this project, we're fortunate enough to be able to use our own internal resources. I'm assigning one master sergeant and 6 additional airmen to the project. And those 6 additional airmen are from their respective work centers and who have experience with their own support equipment and tools. This will help with the accountability process as we inventory prior to moving and inventory after we move. We're going to use one of the wings forklifts to move heavy equipment. We're going to have a stake bed truck where we can load stuff up and drive it versus trying to carry stuff. We can move the boxes and smaller stuff like that. And then we'll use some other material handling equipment to move, Vidmars or lockers. This will be something like a dolly or something. And then we are fortunate enough to have large hangar space. I'm going to consider the personnel resource cost for this project to be a sunk cost because people will have to show up to work regardless. We don't charge towards any particular projects for any particular customers. It's an internal project. So we've budgeted $1,175, 1,000 for the Gerber vinyl, which we'll use on our Gerber machine to cut all the stickers and stencils that we need for the move. And then we're estimating about $175 for the ground fuel. This is the overall work breakdown schedule. We went down to the first level. So we're going to ensure that all personnel are trained and to use the forklift and the handling equipment. Safety briefings are going to be performed. We're going to have that forklift and stake bed truck. That'll be a daily occurrence based on wing priorities. All affected work centers will document inventory discrepancies prior to moving. And so now, as we get into the inventories and the movements, a lot of this stuff is going to happen simultaneously as each shop will break out into the respective areas and do that portion of the work. Just to give some further clarification on what's happening here, you'll have propulsion shop inventory all of their tools and equipment. And then they'll move out of their space and into the staging area of Hangar 301. Propulsion shop will then rope off their area of the hangar where temporary location for controlled access. They'll remove all of markings from the floors and walls and clean their large area. Prep it for the move into for the new tenants. ISO support section, Hangar 301, will inventory all their tools and equipment. Flight line support section, Hangar 302, they'll inventory all their tools and equipment. Everybody will perform the initial layout of equipment toolbox locations for their new areas. And this is where we'll fabricate the Gerber labels and lines as determined by all sections. We'll mark the floors with all of the Gerber stuff. And then basically once all the inventories have been done, everyone's moved out of their previous sections, things are cleaned up and remarked, the new movements can begin. The Gantt chart here, again going down to that first level, you can see there's a lot of work between the work centers get all start at the same time. It's very similar work for each section. And here, more of a visual of who's doing what and when. During the initial planning meeting, as a team, we came up with 5 risks that had very low likelihoods of occurring, but they do have some degree of impact. Work-related injuries, the impact is lost work days. The degree of impact medium. Trigger action, daily safety briefings prior to starting work. That'll be done by Sergeant Swagger. And a response plan will be to determine cause of injury and identify steps to mitigate in the future. Going back to misplaced tools and equipment, That would result in a flight line operation shutdown, and while the likelihood of occurrence is low, the degree of impact is very high. Inventory items prior to move and post move would be the trigger action, with pretty much everybody being responsible for it. And then we would contact Maintenance Operations Center and Quality Assurance to perform the search. And we're going to go back. The reason almost everybody's really responsible for it is because if you identify a lost or missing tool, you need to contact the appropriate levels of supervision right away because it has a negative impact to our repair capabilities. Vehicle next risk would be a vehicle breaking down. Unable to move equipment would be the impact. Again, low likelihood, but we consider that a medium degree of impact. The trigger action is performing our operational checks of aircraft or not aircraft vehicles and signing off the forms on those daily. If we do have an issue, our response plan to that would be to contact vehicle operations and try to get another vehicle before we get that one fixed. People get sick, so if we had somebody that was out sick for a day or two, or your impact is lost work days and less personnel working on the project. Again, likelihood of occurrence is somewhat low, and the degree of impact is medium. So trigger action is project manager be available by phone on a consistent basis to ensure personnel are able to show up to work. Point of contact on that will be Master Sergeant Swagger, and he may request a backfill from leadership if he really needs that person for that day. And then the risk of a unit activation or deployment impact is going to be lost work days and less personnel available to work on the project. Again, low likelihood, but would have a high degree of impact. Our trigger action is just we can keep up with current events, and then that project would come to a halt more than likely. Before I move into a conclusion and questions and answers, our milestones for this would be we've identified 5. Milestone 1 would be all personnel trained and safety briefed and initial inventories completed. Number 2 would be propulsion shop moves to hangar 301 to the open floor for the staging area. And then third would be flight line support section moves into hangar 301, room 138, which would be the new consolidated support section. The propulsion shop moves to hangar 302, room 184, which is the previous flight line support section. And then the ISO support section moves into the new consolidated support section, which now we've got a consolidated support section, and we would consider this project complete. To wrap this up, the project benefits to the organization by freeing up additional personnel to perform aircraft maintenance tasks versus managing an extra tool room. And the regulations and programs associated with managing all of that is huge. Giving us the ability to bring non-mission capable aircraft back to a flyable status faster. This project also benefits technicians because it leads to less walking and less confusion about which tools and equipment belong to the proper support sections. Overall, it's a better use of space and resources. Are there any questions I can answer for you? Thank you for your time today.